So Dabo Swinney ranks the Ohio State Buckeyes at number 11 in the last coaches poll. Is Dabo Swinney crying? We'll find out after the bumper. What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy holidays to everybody. Make sure if you're new here, you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. I do these college football videos and live streams year-round. There is no off-season for Pigskin Pete. So, Dabo Swinney's always in the news. Every time he opens his mouth, people call him a crier. Some things that Dabo Swinney has said in the past, particularly last season, when Clemson was 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, so on and so forth. They dropped a couple of spots in the rankings, and he didn't take a liking to that. You know, playing the Clemson is disrespected card. People calling him a crier and a whiner when he never dropped out of the top four. I can kind of get on board with that. I can see where people are coming from. I believe that a lot of the things that Dabo Swinney says is not speaking to the public, not speaking to the playoff committee, not speaking to the fans even necessarily. He's speaking to his team through the media. Nick Saban has become a master at this long before Dabo Swinney did. You remember the rat poison comments. That was Nick Saban speaking to his team through the media. So this is not a new precedent to be set. Now, having said that, these comments from Dabo Swinney about his philosophy, and that's what it is. It's Dabo Swinney's philosophy in a crazy year, a 2020 year, where you have all these different conferences that have different rules for COVID, playing a different amount of games, starting at different times in the year, making different rules. And so when it comes time to choose the top four teams in the country, Dabo Swinney's philosophy, whether you agree with it or not, is that you should put a team in that has 9 wins over a team that has 6 wins. Now, the real question here, the point of this video, is two things. Two things that I'm seeing a lot of. Number one, does Dabo Swinney think that Ohio State is not one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country just because he ranked them at number 11? I don't know. Maybe. But I also know that he's been very clear about his reasoning for it, and he hasn't wavered from it. This all started last week. He was a guest on the Rich Eisen show, and Rich Eisen basically asked him, do you feel like these Big Ten teams that have only played 6 games have a legitimate gripe to get into the playoff ahead of a team that's won 9 games? And he basically said no. Now, a lot of people agree with Dabo Swinney. There's a lot of people that don't. I don't know if you can classify answering a question, whether it's on the Rich Eisen show, whether it's on Dabo Swinney's own radio show that he does once a week, whether it's with his one of his 2 weekly pressers that he does at Clemson University to answer questions from the press. If you answer a direct question asked by a reporter, honestly, I don't understand how that is considered to be crying. What is the biggest knock on coaches in 2020? Not just 2020, but in the past 10 years or so. Is that every time they do a press conference or answer questions from the media, their mouth does a lot of moving, a lot of words come out of their mouth, and they say absolutely nothing. This is one of the things that pisses people off about Dabo Swinney, especially outside of the Clemson world. To me, it's one of the things I like about him the most. Is that he doesn't have a filter. Now, you don't have to agree with what he says, but you know when you ask him a question, you're going to get the honest answer. You're not going to get a bunch of coach speak. I, for one, like that. At what point in this country did we go from, if you answer a direct question with a direct answer and you answer it honestly, then that is crying now. That's what we have relegated to in this country. If you speak your mind and you have conviction about your own opinion, now you're a crier and a whiner. I could understand if Dabo Swinney was running around unsolicited, yelling from the mountaintops, it's not fair that Ohio State got in there. They only played 6 games. He's answering questions. Now on to the second part of this. And this might be the dumbest take on the internet. Is Dabo Swinney scared to play the Ohio State Buckeyes? You tell me.
You tell me. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Now, I love trolling the Ohio State fan base on YouTube just as much as the next guy. It's way too easy not to. But for anybody who really believes that Dabo Swinney put the Ohio State number 11 in the coaches poll because he's scared of playing them, I have some oceanfront property in Nebraska for sale right now at a very, very cheap price. Not only is Dabo Swinney undefeated against Ohio State, not only is Clemson as a program undefeated throughout history against Ohio State, Dabo Swinney and Clemson have played in some of the biggest premier games in college football over the past half a decade or more against teams that were better, quite frankly, than Ohio State is this year. There's not a college football head coach in all of America worth his salt, especially not one that has been as successful as Coach Swinney, that's scared to play anybody. And if I thought for 2 seconds that Coach Swinney was scared to play Ohio State, I would have a serious problem with that. Ironically enough, I happen to actually disagree with Dabo Swinney's rankings. I have Ohio State ranked number 4 in my own personal rankings because I go off of what the playoff committee's criteria is. The only criteria in the playoff committee's mind or in their bylaws is pick the 4 best teams. They never put any language in there about having to play a certain amount of games, having to win a conference championship, having to have a certain amount of ranked wins. None of that exists in the language of the playoff committee. And so I sort of adopted that as my own sort of philosophy is I want to see the best games in the playoffs. Let's face it, folks. We are now in the 6th year of the playoff. We have not seen very many competitive first-round matchups in the playoffs. In my humble opinion, Ohio State versus Clemson in the first round of the playoffs gives you a better chance of an entertaining, close game than just about any other team that's on the outside looking in. Although I do disagree with his rankings, I understand where him and many other people are coming from. I'd say the college football world at this point is about 50-50 split on either agreeing with his comments or disagreeing with them. Since college football is an inexact science, there's no way it's ever going to be like the NFL. There's too many teams, too many different conferences, all run by different people. It's always going to be just a philosophical argument about who is right about this, but the guy is entitled to his opinion. And I, for one, am not going to run around calling somebody a crybaby for giving their honest opinion. I'm looking forward to a great game between the Buckeyes and the Tigers. I'll see you guys soon. Pigskin Pete is checking out.